Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Bowling along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Bob Beckel, Andrea Tantaros, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. So sue me. 3 short words, but when delivered with a certain tone, speak volumes. And when it's the President of the United States, the man the country is supposed to look up to delivering those so sue me words, that line, you have to ask, has our Commander-in-Chief checked out? Listen to this tape from yesterday. Do you hear the arrogance, the condescension, the I just don't give a damn anymore in his voice?
I'm just telling the truth now. I don't have to run for office again, so I can just, let it rip. You hear some of them. Well, sue him. Impeach him. Really? Really? For what? You're going to sue me for doing my job? Okay. I mean, think about that. You're going to use taxpayer money to sue me for doing my job while you don't do your job.
You know what's sad? We have a president who'd rather play pool and drink beer than tackle the real problems threatening America. You know what else is sad? We elected him twice. KG,
yes,
yeah, it's a little tone change here lately.
Here's the thing. Most stores have an excellent return policy, and I like to frequent those that do. It's sort of like your money-back guarantee. But here's the deal. America bought him twice. Twice have we learned anything from this education. What I do know is that he seems to remarkably be in some good spirits. I mean, but look at all the things that are going on around him. The whole house is crumbling down, the foundation's given out, and still it seems that he doesn't quite understand the severity and the gravity of the problem. So am I to be encouraged that he seems so relaxed and aloof and sort of like out of touch, or what?
I know. We have so many things going. Bob, I bring it around the table. Can we jump over here just for a second?
Sure.
Let's go to Ange. Ange, a lot of things going on around the world. Looks a little aloof, no?
Yeah, too cool, right? And that's okay during the first campaign. It's maybe okay during the second presidential when the Middle East isn't burning, veterans are dying, and the border is being, basically, it's put under siege. But we talk about tone here a lot, and I just thought this tone reminded me of a student council president, something you'd hear on a college campus. Bob's laughing. But a college campus or high school, maybe a high school, junior high, is running for class president on the permanent campaign.
Prom king.
And I think if he had advisors around him that weren't maybe like Stepford staff just sort of nodding at whatever he says, they would pull him aside and they would say, it's not a good look for you. This is serious, okay? I know that you want to win, you want to win the House and you want to keep the Senate, but there's serious stuff here. So going after Republicans and joking and laughing and chugging beers and playing pool, you got to stop that for a while until you figure out what to do.
Hey, Greg, he made a very good point. He doesn't have to run for re-election.
Yeah.
If this were 4 years ago where he did have to run for re-election, would he be more in tune to what's going on the border?
Oh, I think so, and I think I said this before. That's why the polls don't matter. And if we're a conservative Republican, he should act that way. If you know that you don't have any consequences, you should do everything you can to fulfill your ideology. I don't think he was bad last night. I think that's when I watch him speak. I say the Republicans should have that, should have a guy who's got that kind of confidence, who's saying, the only thing I don't like is him using the word really, because that's a banned phrase. But the fact is, Fox News has said that the whole idea of this impeachment movement is ridiculous. So he's just echoing what we have been saying, and he says it with a sense of humor, and he's having fun. True, this is a miserable time for this country. It's terrible. But he's won 2 elections. He doesn't care. He's changing society. To him, watching the border breakdown is a political triumph because his mission is to create comprehensive reform. So this isn't bothering him. This is what hope and change is all about. It's just the Republicans need to find somebody who can do that.
So what I learned from this is, so you've been looking for a guy like this.
I've been saying for the right needs to find their Obama, somebody who can handle this kind of stuff.
Part of the problem with that theory, why President Obama is acting like this because he can, is the fact, Bob, that we're probably the 7th crisis in the last 5.5 years.
But you know, there's a method to his madness here. First of all, he has, in every one of these things he said, I'm doing my job, the Republicans are not. And that's his message. And frankly, it happens to be true. On immigration, he can say, the House could bring it up. They don't like what's in the Senate, but they could bring it up, debate it, amend it, and go to conference. But they won't do that. When Boehner says he's going to sue him, I mean, come on. And they're going to impeach him? I mean, that guy from Texas is about the only guy signed on to that. I think there is a little bit more here than just, taking it too easy. I think he's sending a message.
But he's not doing his job. And either he doesn't understand or he doesn't care about the Constitution.
Both are bad.
Which is weird as a constitutional attorney. Bob, it would take one very quick fix in the law that's currently on the books to handle this situation at the border, at least the court and deportation issue. There's no effort by this administration to do any of that.
What he needs, though, you know what he needs? In every movie, the main character has a best friend that comes over and tells him all the things he needs to hear to get the girl back. He has less friends than E. coli. He doesn't have anybody in his circle that says, dude, time for an intervention. You're scaring the crap out of the country. You got to stop playing pool. He doesn't have that. It's time for an intervention, but the groupies in the media, they won't help him.
Maybe Valerie,
like, I love you,
let me follow up with that.
I love you, man, or I love you, bro.
We so happen to have a couple of people who maybe he should start listening to. Here's Mark Halpern first. Listen.
How does that speech, how does that tone, how does the confrontation, given all the history, totally accept that, how does that solve this? How does that deal with, what kind of country are we that the president can't figure out a way to lead to get the situation with the kids solved?
Hang on, it gets worse. Roll the Carville shot now.
I think it's a mistake, probably a significant mistake. I think that the public expects their president to show up at these kinds of moments, and frankly, I agree with the Democratic consultants that came before. I mean, people are frustrated. Why didn't he go? He should have gone.
So they're jumping off the bandwagon there, Bobby.
Well, I talked to...
Are you, by the way?
No, but I talked to a guy who was intimately involved in their campaign, both of them, and I said to him, can you guys give me anything to work with? Anything. It would be nice. And he said about what Greg's point about the close people around him, he said, you have to know what it's like to try to get through Valerie Jarrett and Michelle Obama. And I think that that's a tough deal for anybody on a staff to do. This guy's not on the staff, but he made it pretty clear to me the Stepford comment is maybe something to that, because he lives in a zone that nobody else goes to.
Stepford staff, they just sit around and go,
Or
no
he
one
does
has
what
the
they
guts
tell
to
him.
say, knock it off.
I don't think he wants to hear it either. I don't know that he's very open
you're
to...
right about that.
Yeah, he doesn't want to hear it. He doesn't want to be criticized, because this is an individual who has, grown up in a way where life has been very, very kind to him. He's been very popular his whole life. He's gone to the best schools. He's been, he has all the people around him fawning over him, lifting him up in a chariot to say, run and be president of the United States.
Mother. I mean,
We've all had bad things
dog.
happen in life, but I'm telling you, he's in the White House. He won the election twice. Things are actually going pretty well for him.
When this changes, though, for the American people is when he goes and says, I need $3.7 billion. And not only do I need $3.7, it's emergency. And guess what? Here's how I want to spend it. I want to spend it on things like health care for these people, processing for these kids, sending these kids back, talking to the countries that are going to take these kids. Instead of closing the border, then it affects every American. He can't be so aloof when we're going to pony up $3.7 billion.
But if the media is not going to call you on it, and you're confident that the people who write the history books are going to give you a pretty good review, then Greg's right. I mean, in his own mind, he thinks he is the best president.
Yes.
And if you look at exactly what he wants, multiculturalism, open borders, then he is the most successful president in the history of time. I mean, we think he's the worst, and by most definitions he is, but he's getting exactly what he wants.
Well, the media is actually the main culprit here, because do you see those guys complaining about Obama? It's because they already voted for him twice. Now they can be honest. CNN called our border this morning the final burden for undocumented aliens. So our burden is actually their burden, and they're documenting their perilous journey through that. They don't look at the struggles of citizens in the towns that the immigrants end up in. What they do is they're following the people here. So we know the side that the media is taking through this, and it's the same side that our president is on. So they might complain, but it's phony.
You know something? This bill is going to go through.
No, of course not.
Of course
Are you
not.
kidding me? They would be fired.
Because it's been appropriated in the House and tacked on to the Homeland Security bill.
It's
you think anybody's going to vote against that?
Well, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Because and therein lies the problem. He says I need it, and it's going to say any Republican doesn't vote for it, you're against
I think it was a very
kids.
smart move.
Hold on,
to put it on that
KG,
bill.
Yeah.
$3.7 billion. We did the math yesterday. It's $74,000 per kid. But look at it this way: It's 68,000 teachers that we could be spending that money on instead of that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of families really struggling in this country, and children that are hungry and starving. Just even the increase in shelters here in New York City, that people can't even provide meals for their children. That's why you see some of the protests, that people are so disgusted and disheartened by, oh, how arrogant, how cold and callous. Look at these poor children. I do feel bad for these children.
You know,
who wouldn't? But why are their parents even putting them in harm's way and sending them across the border like this with drug dealers and coyotes? I mean, that's hardly a safe environment, and we shouldn't encourage it. We should do something to help protect the children by securing the border so these predators can't take advantage of them. It really makes me mad.
I have there is one shelter that I think is useful. It has 132 rooms and 35 bathrooms. It's called the White House. You could probably put eight bunk beds in a room. You could get 1,000 people in there. You know what this is also is a mutation of language. We know what a refugee is. A refugee is somebody that is fleeing persecution.
Right.
Not all of the calling all of these people refugees is a lie. They're not fleeing persecution. They're fleeing a crappy country. I mean, do people leaving Chicago, are they refugees? If you leave Detroit, are they refugees? The big point is, if you believe that these are refugees, what do you do about it? You go to those countries and you fix those countries. Yeah. But nobody likes American exceptionalism. They don't want us to go there.
No.
Greg, here's the point.
It goes against
the real culprit here is Mexico, because Mexico allows them to transfer through their country.
That's right.
From Central America, and goes up and they turn over these drug lords who basically control that border. And that's what's happening. Mexico should be called into account.
Why would we funnel millions of dollars, one, to this country, but also to these Central American countries, which is part of this supplemental? Eric and I were joking that we should move to San Salvador, open up a PR firm, because a lot of these PR firms are going to get these tax dollars. What did you say?
Coyote PR.
Coyote PR. Yeah. And we could have tequila happy hours. And I mean, really, do you really think you're going to be able to buy a PR campaign? These countries know that if they send people there, they're going to be staying. Actions speak louder than words. You have to send them back.
Here's the action. USAID stops.
Well, okay. How about this? Just meet with the presidents of Honduras, Guatemala. Just meet with them. Just sit down and say,
and the president of Mexico, too.
You got to shut it down.
I mean, why not encourage a Central American spring? You know? We're talking,
interesting.
Why not? Because they love our country so much.
You just started a revolution.
Why don't we export our country there? Yeah. But again, that's American imperialism, and everybody hates that.
What if we brought him to Lower Manhattan and did like an Occupy Wall Street? Don't you think a lot of the Obama donors in New York City would have a problem with that?
The good news, there was no spring this year. So
yeah, that's true.
Gotta leave it right there. Stay tuned, because we're just getting started. Greg's going to tell you about a new war in America next. And later, my Fool of the Week, back in the moment.